The chalkboard lesson me name is Daniel Ortiz, and I'm a photographer. I specialize in urban explorations, napping shots of places people forgot, abandoned factories, hospitals, you name it. But nothing prepared me for what I found at Westfield Elementary. It was a small school, shuttered in the 80s after budget cuts, left to rot on the edge of town. I'd heard the rumors, kids' laughter at night, lights flickering in empty classrooms, but I didn't buy it. Ghosts don't show up on film, right? That was my thinking until March 2025. I went in alone, just me, my camera, and a tripod. It was late afternoon, gray clouds choking the sky, and the air smelled like damp wood and mold. The front doors were boarded up, but a busted window let me in. Inside, the halls were a mess, pleading paint, overturned desks, and a carpet of dust so thick it muffled my steps. I started in the gymnasium, snapping the warped bleachers, then moved to the classrooms. That's where it got weird. Room 12 was at the end of the corridor, its door half open, creaking on rusted hinges. The chalkboard caught my eye first, covered in writing, fresh white chalk on cracked slate. It wasn't random scribbles, it was a math problem. 7 5 equals. Below it, in smaller letters, Daniel, solve it, my name. I hadn't told anyone I was coming here, hadn't spoken it aloud. My stomach dropped, but I figured it was a prank, some squatter messing with me. I raised my camera, focused on the board, and clicked. The flash lit up the room, and that's when I heard it. A giggle, high-pitched and close. I spun around, but the room was empty, just rows of little desks, some with faded crayon drawings still taped to them. The giggle came again, from behind me, and I turned back to the board. The problem had changed. Now it read, 7 + 5 = 12. Good job, Daniel. Stay. My hands shook as I checked my camera. The photo showed the first message, not the new one. I wasn't imagining this. Something was here, playing with me. The air got cold, fast, like someone opened a freezer door. My breath fogged, and the lights dead for decades flickered on, a dull yellow buzz filling the room. I heard footsteps, small and quick, pattering down the hall. I grabbed my tripod and bolted for the door, but it slammed shut before I could reach it. The lock clicked, and the chalkboard squeaked. I didn't want to look, but I had to. It said, "Don't leave, Daniel, class isn't over." Panic took over. I rammed the door with my shoulder once, twice, until it gave, spilling me into the hall. The footsteps were louder now, circling me, and the giggles turned into whispers. Stay, stay, stay. I ran, tripping over broken tiles, my camera banging against my chest. The exit was close, but as I reached it, something grabbed my ankles, small icy fingers, gripping tight. I kicked free, stumbled outside, and didn't stop until I hit the road. When I got home, I checked the photos. Most were normal. Desks, cracked walls, but the last one was different. It showed room 12, the chalkboard blank, and me, standing in front of it, smiling. Behind me was a little girl in a faded dress, her face blurred except for her eyes wide black, and staring right at the lens. I didn't see her there. I didn't feel her. But last night I woke up to chalk dust on my floor, and a new photo, on my camera, me asleep, with stay scratched into the wall above my bed. The locker room mirror me name is Mia Harper, and I used to be a high school track star. That's how I ended up at Carver Middle School last fall. It's been abandoned since the late 90s. After a flood wrecked the basement and the town couldn't afford repairs. The place was a legend among my old teammates, supposedly. Kids drowned down there, and their spirits never left. I didn't believe it back then, but in October 2024, I went back to prove it was just a story. I was wrong. I'm a fitness trainer now, and I'd been dared by a client to film a workout in the old locker room, something spooky for Halloween. I brought my phone, a tripod, and a flashlight, figuring I'd do some squats and call it a day. The school was erective in ceilings, rusted lockers, and a smell like wet earth and decay. I found the locker room in the basement, down a stairwell so dark I nearly turned back. The air was damp, heavy, and the silence buzzed in my ears. The locker room was small rows of lockers, a cracked bench, and a long mirror on the far wall, fogged with grime. I set up my tripod, hit record, and started my routine. "Hey guys," I said to the camera, "welcome to Carver Middle. Let's get spooky." My voice echoed, louder than it should have, and I laughed it off. But then the mirror caught my eye. My reflection was there, sure, but it wasn't moving. I was It was standing still, staring at me. I froze, chalking it up to a trick of the light, and kept going. A few reps later I heard a drip, slow, steady, like a leaking pipe. I glanced around, but the floor was dry. The sound was coming from the mirror. I stepped closer, wiping the grime with my sleeve, and saw it, water pooling behind the glass, rippling like someone was splashing in it. My reflection was gone now, replaced by a dark shape under the small hunched. Moving closer. My phone beeped low battery, even though it had been fully charged. I turned to grab it, and that's when the whispering started. Soft, garbled, like voices underwater. "Help, help, help." I spun back to the mirror, and the shape was clear. A boy, maybe 12, his face pale and bloated, eyes milky white. He pressed his hands against the glass, and it cracked, spiderwebbing out from his palms. Water seeped through, cold and black, dripping onto the tiles. I grabbed my stuff and ran for the stairs, but the whispers followed, growing into a chorus of pleas. The stairwell was wet, now impossible since it had been dry. Coming down and my shoes slipped. I fell, my flashlight rolling away, and in its beam, I saw them. Shadows on the walls, small figures reaching out, their fingers brushing my legs. I scrambled up, heart pounding, and made it to the exit. The door wouldn't budge at first, like something was holding it, but it finally gave. Outside, I checked my phone. The video was there, but it wasn't me working out. It showed the locker room, empty, the mirror clean and uncracked. Then, slowly, my face appeared and it smiling, waving, like I was still inside. The battery died before I could delete it. A week later I found wet footprints in my apartment, leading to my bathroom mirror. The glass was fogged, and scratched into it was, "Help me, Mia." The library's last reader me name is Ethan Brooks, and I'm a history buff. Old buildings are my thing, schools, churches, anything with a story. That's why I ended up at Carver Middle School in November 2024. The place had been abandoned for decades and I'd heard it had a library full of books left behind when the flood hit. I wanted to see it for myself, maybe snag a few relics for my collection. I brought a flashlight, a backpack, and my phone to document it. I should have left the second I walked in. The school was a maze of rot-collapsed walls, moldy floors, and a stench like something died in the vents. The library was on the second floor, tucked behind a hallway littered with broken lockers. The door was stuck, swollen from years of damp, but I pried it open. Inside it was like time froze, shelves packed with books, some still upright, others slumped into piles. The air was thick with dust and the only sound was my breathing. I started snapping photos, the flash cutting through the gloom. I found a table near the back, covered in open books, their pages yellowed but intact. One caught my eye, a ledger, not a storybook. It listed names, dates, and grades, like a roll call. Ethan Brooks, November 12, 2024, present. My name, that day's date. I laughed, figuring it was a coincidence, some other Ethan Brooks from way back. But then I heard it, pages turning, slow and deliberate. From the other side of the room, I swung my flashlight around. But the shelves were empty, no wind, no rats, nothing to explain it. The sound stopped, and I went back to the ledger. The ink was wet. I touched it, and it smeared on my fingers fresh, like it had just been written. My chest tightened, but I told myself to stay calm. I grabbed my phone to record narrating. Found something weird here before I could finish. The lights flickered, not possible, since the power was long dead, and a voice answered, "You're late, Ethan." It was a woman's voice, crisp and stern, like a teacher calling me out. I dropped the phone, the screen cracking as it hit the floor. The flashlight caught something, a figure between the shelves, tall and thin, in a long skirt and blouse, her hair pulled back tight. She held a book, her fingers skeletal, and her face. God, her face was wrong. Hollow cheeks, lips sewn shut with black thread, but her eyes were alive, locked on me. I backed up, knocking over a chair, and she moved, gliding, not walking, her feet hidden under the skirt. The pages started flipping again, all around me, books flying off shelves like they were angry. "Stay and read," she said, her voice muffled through those stitches. I ran for the door, but it slammed shut, the lock clicking. The air turned icy, and my flashlight died. In the dark I felt her breath on my neck, stale and sour, whispering, "You're mine now." I don't know how I got out. I threw myself at the door until it gave, tumbling into the hall. The whispers chased me, echoing, "Ethan, Ethan." I didn't stop until I was in my car, hands shaking so bad I could barely drive. When I got home, I checked my phone. The video was there, just static. Then her face, filling the screen, stitches splitting as she smiled. Last night I found a book on my desk, wet, moldy, with my name on every page. The janitor's whistle. Me name is Lucas Grant, and I'm a security guard. I've worked night shifts at warehouses, malls, you name it, places where the worst thing you deal with is a drunk teenager or a raccoon. But last December, I took a gig watching Carver Middle School. It was a one-off job. Some developer wanted the site secured before demolition. They didn't tell me about the flood, the rumors, or the janitor. I wish they had. It was December 15th, 2024, and the place was a skeleton, walls crumbling, windows smashed, everything coated in frost and grime. I got there at midnight, armed with a flashlight, a thermos of coffee, and my walkie-talkie. The plan was simple. Patrol the grounds, check the doors, keep vandals out. The cold bit through my jacket as I started my rounds, the silence broken only by my boots crunching ice. That's when I heard the whistle. It was faint at first, a sharp, two-note tune high, then low, like someone calling a dog. I figured it was wind through the pipes, but it came again, louder, from the main building. I swept my flashlight across the windows, expecting a squatter, but they were dark. The whistle kept going, rhythmic, insistent, pulling me toward the back entrance. The door was unlocked hard since I'd checked it an hour ago, and I stepped. Inside, the halls were pitch black. the air damp and heavy, like the flood never dried out. I followed the sound, my beam catching faded posters and rusted lockers. It led me to the basement stairs, a concrete throat descending into nothing. I radioed my supervisor, hearing something weird down here, but got static. The whistle sharpened, echoing up the steps, and I went down, cursing myself the whole way. The basement was a maze of pipes and shadows, the floor slick with puddles that shouldn't have been there. The whistle stopped, replaced by a slow, wet shuffle like boots dragging through mud. I turned a corner and saw him, a man in a gray jumpsuit, hunched over a mop, his back to me. His hair was matted, dripping, and the air smelled like mildew and rust. "Hey," I called, voice shaking. "You're not supposed to be here." He didn't turn, just kept mopping, the slosh of water loud in the quiet. I stepped closer, flashlight trembling, and tapped his shoulder. My hand sank in soft, cold, like wet cland. He spun around. His face was a ruin, skin sagging, eyes gone, just black sockets leaking water. His mouth opened, and that whistle came out, shrill and deafening, right in my face. I stumbled back, slipping, and hit the ground hard. The lights dead for years flared on, a sickly green glow, and I saw the walls, covered in handprints, small and smeared, like kids had clawed their way up. He lurched toward me, mop dragging, leaving a trail of black water that stank of rot. I scrambled up, ran, his whistle chasing me, bouncing off the pipes. The stairs seemed longer going up, and I felt wet fingers brush my neck, tugging at my collar. I burst outside, slamming the door, and it locked behind me. I quit that night. The developer said no one else heard anything, but my flashlight's lens was cracked, and my jacket had a wet handprint that wouldn't wash out. A week later I heard that whistle outside my window, high, then low. I don't sleep much anymore. The bell that rings along my name is Rachel Nguyen, and I'm a journalist. I chase stories, urban legends, mostly, the creepier the better. Carver Middle School was on my list for years. Ever since I heard about the flood and the kids who didn't make it out, people in town swore the old bell tower still rang sometimes, even though the rope rotted away decades ago. I didn't believe it, but I needed proof either way. So, on January 10th, 2025, I went to find out. It was a bitter night, snow dusting the ground, the school looming like a tomb against the gray sky. I brought my recorder, a flashlight, and a thermal camera, tools of the trade. The place was falling apart, roof caved in, walls tagged with graffiti, but the bell tower still stood, a crooked spike piercing the clouds. I climbed through a shattered window, glass crunching under my boots, and headed straight for it. The air inside was stale, thick with the smell of old paper and something sour I couldn't place. The tower stairs were narrow, wood groaning with every step, and the higher I went, the colder it got. My breath fogged, even indoors, and my recorder picked up static faint, like whispers too soft to catch. At the top, the bell hung there, massive and rusted, swaying slightly though there was no wind. I set up my thermal camera, aiming it at the bell, and started recording. January 10th, 2025, 11:45 p.m., I said. Testing the legend. Nothing happened at first. Just silence, heavy and oppressive. Then, at midnight sharp, it rang, a deep hollow clang that shook the floor. My ears popped, and I stumbled, grabbing the railing. The rope was gone, snapped off years ago, dangling in tatters. I checked the thermal, nothing touched it. No heat signature, just the bell swinging on its own. Another clang, louder, and my flashlight flickered. "Hello," I called, voice trembling. No answer, but the static on my recorder spiked, and I heard it, a child's voice, clear as day. "Help us." I froze, heart slamming against my ribs. The bell rang again, faster now, like an alarm, and the tower shook, dust raining down, wood cracking. My thermal showed cold spots, dozens of them clustering below the bell, moving like people circling me. I swung my flashlight, and the beam caught something. A face, pale and small, hovering in the dark. A boy, maybe 10, with wet hair plastered to his skull and eyes too big, too empty. He reached out, his hand passing through the light, and I felt it ice on my wrists, burning cold. The bell wouldn't stop. It rang and rang, each toll louder, until I couldn't think. More faces appeared, girls, boys, all soaked, all staring. "Help us," they whispered, over and over, their voices blending with the clangs. I ran, tripping down the stairs, my recorder slipping from my hand. The last step gave way, and I fell, twisting my ankle, but I crawled out, the bell still screaming behind me. Outside it stopped, dead silence, like it never happened. I limped home, checked my gear. The thermal caught the cold spots, shifting like a crowd, but the recorder was worse. Amid the static, it looped. "Help us, Rachel. Help us, Rachel." Last night, I woke to a single bell toll outside my window. My ankle's still swollen, and there's a frostburn on my wrist I can't explain. The playground shadows. Me name is Tyler Evans, and I'm a dad. My son Max is 8, and he's obsessed with exploring bike rides, hikes, the works. Last February he begged me to check out Carver Middle School. He'd heard from his friends. It was haunted, said the playground swings moved on their own. I didn't buy it, thought it was just wind or some kid's prank, but Max wouldn't let it go. So, on February 22nd, 2025, I took him there. It was a mistake. It was late afternoon. The sky bruised with clouds, a chill settling in. The school was a wreck, boarded windows, graffiti, the playground out back overgrown with weeds. The swings were there, rusted chains creaking, seats cracked from years of neglect. Max ran ahead, laughing, while I trailed with my phone, snapping pics to humor him. "See, Dad, they're moving," he yelled, pointing. Sure enough, one swing swayed gently, back and forth. Though the air was still, I shrugged it off residual momentum. Maybe. Max climbed the jungle gym, chattering about ghosts, and I sat on a bench, watching. The light was fading fast, shadows stretching long across the gravel. Then I heard it, a hum, low and steady, like kids singing far off. I looked around, no one but us. Max didn't seem to notice, but the swings picked up speed, all three now, creaking louder. "Max, come on," I called, uneasy. He slid down, grinning, but froze when the humming turned into words. "Play with us." It was faint, carried on the breeze, and I thought I'd misheard. Max's eyes went wide. "Dad, did you hear that?" Before I could answer, the slide rattled like something heavy was climbing at hand. A shadow darted across the top, too small to be an adult, too fast to be real. I grabbed Max's hand, pulling him toward the car, but the playground came alive. The merry-go-round spun, grinding metal on metal, and the seesaw slammed up and down, hard enough to crack the ground. "Play with us," the voices said again, closer, a chorus of kids, sharp and desperate. Shadows moved, dozens of them flitting between the equipment, dark shapes with no source. Max screamed, pointing at the swings. There were kids there now, faint and gray, sitting still as the chain swung high, their heads turned toward us, all at once, faces blank, no eyes, no mouths, just smooth skin. My phone slipped, hitting the dirt, and the screen lit up, recording. I scooped Max up and ran, his sobs hot against my neck. The voices followed, chanting, "Stay, play, stay." Something tugged my jacket's small, cold hands, yanking hard, and I stumbled, nearly dropping him. The car was close, but the shadows were closer, pooling around us like ink. I threw Max inside, jumped in, and floored it. The rear view showed them, gray kids, standing in a line, watching us go. At home, Max wouldn't talk, just drew pictures of faceless kids on swings. I checked my phone. The video was there, us running the playground alive, and those shadows clear as day reaching for us. Last night I heard the swings creaking outside our house. Max won't go near the backyard anymore. The art room's masterpiece. Me name is Olivia Bennett, and I'm an art teacher. I've always loved old buildings, their textures, their stories. So, when I heard Carver Middle School was slated for demolition, I couldn't resist. It was March 15, 2025, and I went to sketch the place before it was gone. The rumors about the flood and the kids didn't scare me. I figured they were just tales to keep vandals away. I brought my sketchbook, pencils, and a flashlight. I didn't expect to leave with something else. The school was a ruin, walls sagging, floors buckled, the air thick with damp rot. I found the art room on the first floor, its door hanging loose, paint cans and brushes scattered like someone left in a hurry. The walls were covered in faded murals, trees, animals, kids holding hands, cracked but still vibrant. I sat up by a window, sketching the chaos, the late afternoon light slanting through broken glass. It was quiet, peaceful, until the scratching started. It was soft at first, like a pencil on paper, coming from the far wall. I thought it was a rat, but it grew louder, sharper nails on plaster. I grabbed my flashlight, sweeping the beam, and saw it. The mural was changing. The kids' hands, once linked, were clawing at the trees, paint peeling as if they were digging out. My sketchbook slipped, and I laughed nervously. Trick of the light. Right. But then the air shifted, heavy and cold, and I smelled it, wet clay, sharp and fresh. I stepped closer, heart thudding, and the scratching turned frantic. Faces in the mural, twisted smiles gone, eyes wide, mouths open in silent screams. A hand broke free, not paint but real, small and gray, fingers curling toward me. I stumbled back, tripping over a chair, and the room erupted. Brushes clattered, cans rolled, and a voice whispered, "Draw me." It was a girl, soft but insistent, right behind me. I spun, but no one was there. My flashlight caught the easel in the corner. A blank canvas sat there, untouched when I'd arrived. Now, it wasn't blank. A sketch was forming jagged lines. A girl's face, her hair dripping, her eyes black pits. The pencil beside it moved, scraping on its own, deepening the shadows. "Draw me," she said again, louder, and the mural's bled red paint trickling from the kids' hands, pooling on the floor. I grabbed my stuff, but the door slammed shut. paint cans flying at me, bursting against the walls. I fought the door, screaming, as the canvas girl turned her head on paper, but staring at me. The room shook, plaster cracking, and those mural hands reached out, cold fingers brushing my arms. I kicked the door open, ran, the whisper chasing me, "Finish it." I didn't stop until I was home, shaking, my sketchbook stained with red I hadn't touched. The next day I found a drawing in my bag, not mine. It was me, standing in the art room, the girl behind me smiling with no teeth. Last night, I heard scratching under my bed. My pencils are gone. The science lab's experiment me name is Connor Hayes, and I'm a college student. I study chemistry, so I'm used to lab speakers, burners, the works, but nothing like the one at Carver Middle School. I went there on April 1st, 2025, with my buddy Nate. We'd heard the place was creepy, perfect for an April Fool's prank, set up some fake ghost evidence and scare our friends. I brought a backpack with dry ice, glow sticks, on my phone. It was supposed to be a laugh. It wasn't. The school was trashed, ceilings caved in, walls black with mold. We found the science lab on the second floor, its door warped but ajar. Inside, it was a time capsule, Bunsen burners rusted shut, shelves of cracked glassware, charts peeling off the walls. The air stank of chemicals, sharp and bitter, even after all these years. Nate grinned, cracking a glow stick, while I set up the dry ice to make fog. "This'll freak him out," he said. Then the lights hummed. They shouldn't have. Power was cut decades ago, but a faint blue flicker sparked overhead, buzzing like a dying bug zapper. We froze, watching it pulse. "Old wiring," I muttered, but my skin prickled. I poured water on the dry ice, fog curling up, and that's when I heard it. A hiss, not from our setup, but from the back of the room. A burner flared to life, its flame green and steady, heating an empty beaker. Nate laughed nervously. "Dude, you rigged that." I hadn't. I stepped closer, phone recording, and the flame jumped higher, hotter, licking the air. The beaker bubbled, though it was dry, a thick black liquid rising inside. The hiss turned into a voice, mix it low, guttural, like it came from under the floor. Nate dropped his glow stick, the green light rolling into the fog. "Connor, let's go," he whispered, but I couldn't move. The shelves rattled, jars tipping, spilling dust and shards. A shadow stretched across the wall, tall, hunched, in a lab coat, arms too long. It wasn't ours. The voice came again. "Mix it, Connor." My name. I hadn't said it aloud. The burner flared, and the black liquid overflowed, sizzling on the counter, eating through the wood like acid. Nate grabbed my arm, but the door slammed shut, glass cracking in its frame. The shadow moved, gliding toward us, and I saw its face, and the flicker burned, melted, one eye dripping like wax. The fog thickened, choking, and the voice laughed, a wet, gurgling sound. Jars flew, shattering around us, and the liquid spread, pooling at our feet. It burned through my shoe, searing my skin. I yelled, kicking the door, and it gave just enough to stumble out. We ran, the hiss chasing us, the lights pulsing like a heartbeat. Outside, my foot throbbed, blistered black, and Nate was pale, muttering about the shadow. My phone caught it, the flame, the liquid, that face staring through the fog. Last night I smelled chemicals in my dorm. My shoe still melted, and there's a black stain on my floor that won't scrub off. The teacher's desk. Me name is Sophie Patel, and I'm a substitute teacher. I've worked in rough schools, licky roofs, rowdy kids, but nothing like Carver Middle School. I wasn't there to teach, though. On April 20th, 2025, I went with my cousin Priya to explore it. She's into paranormal stuff, said the place was active since the flood. I didn't believe in ghosts, just wanted to keep her company. I brought a flashlight and a snack. She had her EVP recorder. We should have stayed home. The school was a shell, walls crumbling, floors slick with moss. Priya led us to a classroom. On the first floor, room 108, where the teacher's desk still stood, scarred but solid. Papers littered it, lesson plans, graded quizzes, yellowed and curling. The chalkboard behind it was smudged, but I could make out "welcome back" in faint letters. Priya set up her recorder, whispering, "Any spirits here?" I rolled my eyes, munching my granola bar until the desk drawer slid open. That it was slow, deliberate, wood scraping wood. No one touched it. Priya grinned. "See, told you." But I felt sick. Inside the drawer was a photo. A woman in a blazer, smiling, standing at that desk. The date on the back reads September 1989, the year the school closed. "Probably the teacher," I said, trying to sound calm. Then the recorder crackled, and a voice answered, "Yes, Sophie." My name, clear, sharp, a woman's tone. Priya's jaw dropped, and I dropped the photo. The air turned cold. Fast, my breath visible in the flashlight's beam. "Who's there?" Priya asked, but I grabbed her arm. "Let's go." Toot. Late, the desk shook, papers flying, and the chalkboard squeaked, letters forming. Sophie stayed. I hadn't told Priya my full name that day. No one had. The lights flickered, impossible, no power, and the photo lifted off the floor. Hovering, the woman's face changed. Smile fading, eyes sinking into dark pools. "You're late," the voice said, now from the desk, deep and angry. The chair behind it slid forward, slamming into the desk, and I heard footsteps heavy pacing behind us. I turned, flashlight catching a figure. Tall, in that same blazer, her hair wild, her face half gone, jaw hanging loose. Priya screamed, dropping the recorder, and the figure lunged not at her, at me. I felt it pressure on my chest, cold and crushing, pushing me toward the desk. Sit, it hissed, and the chair scraped closer. I fought, shoving Priya toward the door, and we ran, the voice yelling, Sophie, stay. Papers chased us, sticking to my legs, and the photo slipped into my pocket somehow. We made it out, panting, but the recorder was gone. At home, I burned the photo, watched her face melt in the flames, but my chest still aches, like something's pressing on it. Last night I heard chalk on my wall. It wrote, stay above my bed. Priya won't talk about it anymore. The gymnasium ecos. My name is Alex Rivera, and I'm a personal trainer. I've always been into fitness, running, lifting, pushing limits. That's why I went to Carver Middle School on May 5th, 2025. A buddy dared me to do a workout in the old gym. Film it for kicks. Abandoned places don't scare me. I've trained in worse. I brought my kettlebell, a water bottle, and my GoPro. I thought it'd be a quick and end out. It turned into something I can't shake. The school was a wreck, choking the bricks, windows smashed, the gym doors hanging off their hinges. Inside, it was massive. Warped bleachers, a faded basketball court, the air thick with dust and stale sweat. I set up my GoPro on the free throw line, hit record, and started swinging the kettlebell. Day 1, Haunted Gym Challenge, I said, grinning. The echo of my voice bounced too loud, too long, like the room was bigger than it looked. 10 swings in, I heard it. A thud, heavy and dull, from the bleachers. I paused, kettlebell midair, and glanced over. Nothing, just shadows, and splintered wood. Wind, I muttered, but the air was still. I kept going, counting reps, until the thud came again, closer, rhythmic like footsteps descending the rows. My GoPro's light flickered, and the echo of my counts twisted. 1, 2. Alex, my name, tacked on, in a voice not mine, faint, but clear. Dot. I dropped the kettlebell, spinning toward the bleachers. Who's there? I yelled, my voice bouncing back. Who's there? Alex. The thud sped up, a dozen now, circling the gym. The floor vibrated, dust puffing up, and my GoPro tipped over, lens pointing at the ceiling. I grabbed my flashlight, sweeping it caught a shape, tall and lanky, darting behind the scoreboard. This isn't funny, I shouted, but the echoes, the laughter chorus of voices, high and low, mocking me. The bleachers groaned, bending under invisible weight, and shadows stretched long, thin, moving fast. My kettlebell rolled away, clanging against the wall, and the scoreboard lit up dead for years, flashing Alex 0. The air turned heavy, pressing my chest, and a whistle shrieked sharp like a coach's call. I ran for the door, but it slammed shut, wood splintering. Play, the voices hissed, overlapping. Play, Alex. I kicked the door, once, twice, until it gave, and bolted outside. The whistle followed, fading as I hit the parking lot. My GoPro was still inside. I wasn't going back. At home, my buddy retrieved it, handed me the footage. It showed me swinging, then static, then me again, but not alone. Shadows filled the bleachers, faceless, leaning forward, clapping in, silence. Last night I heard a thud in my garage. My kettlebell's gone. The cafeteria's leftovers. My name is Jamie Walsh, and I'm a chef. I've worked in kitchens my whole life, hot, loud, chaotic, but nothing compares to what I found at Carver Middle School on May 25th, 2025. I went there on a bet. A friend dared me to cook something in the old cafeteria, film it for my food vlog. I thought it'd be fun, rustic, spooky vibes. I packed a portable stove, some ingredients, and my camera. I didn't expect the place to cook back. The school was a dump, leaking walls slimy with mold. The cafeteria was worse. Long tables tipped over, trays scattered, a stench like sour milk and rot. The kitchen was intact, the rusted sinks, dented pots, a walk-in freezer with a busted lock. I set up my stove on a counter, camera rolling, and started chopping onions. Welcome to Haunted Kitchen, I joked, voice echoing off the tiles. That's when I heard it, a clatter like a tray hitting the floor. I turned, knife in hand, nothing but shadows. Rats, I muttered, but the clatter came again, louder, from the dining area. I grabbed my flashlight, peeked out. Empty, just overturned chairs. Back at the stove, the onions, the sizzle filling the silence. Then the freezer hummed. No power, no way it should have worked, but it buzzed, low and steady, cold air seeping out. My camera's lens fogged, and a smell hit me, not onions, but meat. Raw and rank. I opened the freezer door, flashlight trembling. Inside it was packed trays of food, gray and glistening, like they'd been sitting since the 80s. Slabs of something unidentifiable dripped onto the floor, pooling red. "What the hell?" I whispered, and my voice came back. "What the hell?" "Jamie," a kid's voice sing-song from inside the freezer. I slammed it shut, heart racing, but the hum grew, rattling the walls. The stove fled flames jumping high, scorching my pan, and the clatter exploded. Trays flying, chairs scraping, a dozen voices giggling. "Eat it, Jamie," they chanted, high and shrill. I swung my flashlight, caught glimpses small figures darting between tables, hands clutching forks, faces pale and smeared with grime. My onions were gone, replaced by a lump of raw, pulsing meat in the pan. It twitched. I grabbed my camera, stove still burning, and ran. The freezer door banged open behind me, cold chasing my heels, voices screaming, "Eat it, eat it." Something wet slapped my back, a piece of that meat sticking to my shirt. I burst outside, threw it off, and didn't stop till I was home. The footage showed me cooking, then static, then me running, those kids behind me, grinning, holding trays of red sludge. Last night I smelled raw meat in my kitchen. My stove was on, empty pan sizzling. I don't cook anymore. The music room's melody. Me name is Zoe Carter, and I'm a musician. I play piano, mostly gigs at bars, weddings, that sort of thing. On June 10th, 2025, I went to Carver Middle School with my friend Liam. He's a sound engineer. Thought we could record some eerie acoustics in the old music room for a project. I brought my portable keyboard. He had his mix and recorder. We wanted atmosphere. We got more than that. The school was falling apart, walls tagged, floors warped, air thick with mildew. The music room was on the second floor, its door scratched and splintered. Inside it was a mess. Overturned chairs, broken music stands, a piano in the corner with half its keys missing. The air buzzed like a live wire, and I set up my keyboard while Liam rigged the mix. "Let's get some reverb," he said, grinning. I played a few notes, soft, simple, and the echo lingered. Too long, too loud. I stopped, but the sound didn't. The piano answered, halting off-key notes, like someone fumbling the tune I'd just played. I laughed. "Uneasy wind." Liam shook his head, checking his recorder. No airflow. He hit play, and my notes came back, clean then warped, layered with a hum, a voice humming my melody. "Zoe." It sang, faint but clear, stretching my name into a wail. My fingers froze on the keys. The lights flickered, dead bulbs sparking to life. Dim and yellow, and the piano played again, faster, a jagged version of my song. I stood, knocking over my stool, and saw it, the keys moving, dipping under invisible hands. "Liam, we're out," I said. But he was staring at the mix, static spiking, red lights flashing. The hum grew a chorus now, voices weaving through the notes. "Play, Zoe, play." The room shook, stands clattering, chairs sliding, shadows flickered on the walls, small and jerky, like kids dancing. My keyboard lit up, keys slamming down, blasting my tune in a screeching loop. I yanked the plug, but it kept going, chords dangling. Liam grabbed his gear, yelling, "Go." The piano lurched forward on its wheels, crashing into the wall, and a figure rose from it. Thin, in a tattered dress, her face blurred, mouth open, humming. We ran, the melody chasing us, twisting, into a scream. The stairs buckled, wood splintering, and cold hands brushed my neck, tugging my hair. I stumbled out, Liam behind me, and the music cut off. Silence, sharp and sudden. At home, the recording was just static. Then my song sung by dozens of voices, ending with "Zoe, come back." Last night, my keyboard played itself unplugged, in the dark. The nurse is a FISE. Me name is Dylan Foster, and I'm a paramedic. I've seen blood, broken bones, the worst of humanity. Nothing phases me. But Carver Middle School tested that. On June 28, 2025, I went there with my sister Tara, a med student. She wanted to poke around the old nurse's office for a paper on abandoned healthcare spaces. I tagged along to keep her safe, bringing a first aid kit, flashlight, and my phone. I didn't think we'd need any of it. The school was a rotting husk, ceiling sagging, air damp and sour. The nurse's office was on the ground floor, its door warped, marked with a faded red cross. Inside it was small, a cot with a torn mattress, a desk, cabinets hanging open. Bandages and pill bottles littered the floor. Some labels still legible, expired in the 90s. Tara started snapping photos, muttering about history, while I leaned against the wall, bored. Then I heard it, a cough, wet and ragged, from the cat. I swung my flashlight, empty, just dust swirling. "You hear that?" I asked. Tara nodded, frowning, and tapped her phone to record. The cough came again, louder, followed by a wheeze, like someone struggling to breathe. "Hello," I called, stepping toward the cot. The mattress sank, an indent forming, small, child-sized, right in front of me. Tara gasped, and the air turned cold, sharp with antiseptic. The cabinets rattled, doors banging, spilling more bandage, stained red. My phone buzzed, low battery, though it had been full, and the flashlight dimmed. "Help me." A voice rasped, thin and desperate. From the cot, I reached out, instinct kicking in, but my hand passed through icy air. The indent moved, sliding off the cot, and footprints pressed into the dust bare tiny, heading for the desk. Tara's phone caught it. "Help me, Dylan." My name, clear as a bell. The desk drawer slid open, revealing a stethoscope, rusted and coiled. It lifted, floating, then snapped toward me, wrapping around my wrist tight, cold, cutting into my skin. I yanked free, blood welling up, and the cough turned into a scream, high, piercing, shaking the walls. Shadows flickered, kids, pale and hunched, crowding the room, hands outstretched. "Run," I yelled, grabbing Tara. The door slammed shut, glass shattering in the frame, and the stethoscope lashed out again, grazing my neck. I kicked the door, with splintering, and we stumbled into the hall, screams echoing behind us. Outside, my wrist bled, a perfect ring burned into it. Tara's recording was garbled, but my name looped. "Dylan, help. Dylan." Last night, I woke to coughing in my room. My first aid kit was open, bandages unrolled across the floor. The boiler room's heat. Me name is Marcus Lee, and I'm a mechanic. I fix things, cars, furnaces, anything with gears. On July 15th, 2025, I went to Carver Middle School with my cousin Ray. He's a junk collector. Thought we could salvage scrap from the old boiler room, pipes, valves, whatever wasn't rusted to hell. I brought my toolbox, a flashlight, and a crowbar. It was supposed to be a quick job. It turned into a nightmare. The school was a crumbling mess, walls black with mold, floors slick from leaks. The boiler room was in the basement, down a stairwell that stank of oil and decay. The door was heavy, metal dented like something had rammed it inside. It was a jungle of pipes, rusted, tangled, dripping, and a massive boiler squatted in the center, its hatch gaping open. The air was hot, humid, even though the system hadn't run in decades. Ray started prying at a valve. "Grinning jackpot," he said. Then the clanging started. It was low, rhythmic, metal on metal, like a hammer tapping pipes. I swung my flashlight, nothing but shadows dancing in the steam. "Echoes," I muttered, but the clanging grew, sharp and fast, circling us. The boiler groaned, a deep rumble, and heat blasted out, impossible, searing, like an oven door opening. My skin prickled, sweat stinging my eyes, and Ray dropped his crowbar, cursing. "What the hell?" The flashlight caught it, the hatch slamming shut, then open, then shut again on its own. Steam hissed thick and gray, and a voice growled through it. "Fix it," rough, deep like gravel grinding. I laughed, nervous. "Fix what?" And the pipes rattled, shaking the room. "Fix it, Marcus," it said, my name echoing off the walls. Ray grabbed my arm, pale. "Let's go." Man, too late. The heat spiked, my toolbox flying open, wrenches, screws, spinning midair. The boiler roared, flames licking out, green and wrong, scorching the floor. A shadow loomed inside it, huge, hunched arms like pistons, face lost in the glow. It stepped out, metal creaking, and the voice boomed, "Fix me." I swung my crowbar, hit nothing but air, and the pipes burst, hot water spraying, burning. My hands, we ran. The clanging chasing us, steam blinding me, texted, the floor buckling under us. The shadow grabbed me, dragging me back, its grip like iron, unrelenting. I stumbled out, coughing, my lungs burning, and didn't stop until I hit fresh air. My hands blistered, red and raw, and Ray's shirt was singed. Later I found a gear in my toolbox I didn't pack, rusted, warm to the touch. Last night, I heard clanging in my garage. My wrench was bent in half. The hallway locker. Me name is Harper Quinn, and I'm a high school senior. I love a good scare, horror movies, haunted houses. So, when my friends dared me to break into Carver Middle School on July 30th, 2025, I was in. The plan was simple. Snap a pic inside, prove I'd been there. I brought my phone, a flashlight, and a lockpick set I'd messed with for fun. I didn't expect the lockers to fight back. The school was a ghost town, windows shattered, walls tagged, air heavy with damp, rot. I slipped in through a side door, heart pounding, and hit the main hallway. Lockers lined both sides, rusted shut, some dented like they'd been punched. I picked one at random, locker 47, figuring I'd stage my photo there. The lock was stiff, but I jimmied it open, the click loud in the silence. Inside it was empty except for a crumpled note. "Harper, don't." I froze. No one knew I was coming. Not even my friends, just a last-minute text about the dare. The handwriting was shaky, fresh ink smudging when I touched it. "Funny," I whispered, but my laugh died when the locker next to it rattled. I swung my flashlight, nothing but the rattling spread. Locker after locker, a wave of bangs crashing down the hall. My phone buzzed, screen glitching, and the air turned cold, sharp with rust. Thought I snapped a quick pick me, smirking, door ajar, and turned to go. Then I heard it, a whisper, soft and close, from inside locker 47. Stayed a girl's voice, trembling. I yanked the door wider, still empty, but the whisper grew. "Stay, Harper." The other lockers popped open, one by one, hinges screaming, spilling papers, pencils, a flood of junk that shouldn't have fit. My photo lit up my phone, me, but not alone. A pale hand rested on my shoulder. The banging stopped, replaced by footsteps, slow dragging. Behind me, I spun, flashlight catching a figure at the hall's end. Small, in a hoodie, head down. "Who's there?" I yelled, voice cracking. It didn't answer, just shuffled closer, locker slamming shut. As it passed, my phone died, flashlight next, and the dark swallowed me. "Stay," the voice said, right in my ear, cold breath on my neck. I ran, tripping over debris, the footsteps pacing me. Lockers flew open again, hands reaching gray, bony, clawing at my legs. I hit the door, burst out, and didn't look back. At home, my phone rebooted new photo, timestamped that night. Me, inside locker 47, eyes wide, mouth taped shut. Last night, I heard rattling in my closet, my lockpicks missing. The principal's FISME name is Noah Sullivan, and I'm a private investigator. I dig into cold cases, missing person stuff cops gave up on. On August 12, 2025, I went to Carver Middle School chasing a lead. A client's sister vanished there in '89, right before the flood shut it down. No body, no trace, just rumors of screams from the principal's office. I brought my notebook, a flashlight, and a voice recorder. I figured I'd find nothing, but dust. I was wrong. The school was a rotting corpse, walls sagging, air thick with mold. The principal's office was on the main floor. Its door cracked, brass nameplate reading J. Hargrove still screwed on. Inside it was a time warp. Desk piled with files, a rotary phone, chair tipped over like someone left fast. I set my recorder on the desk, hit record. August 12, 2025. Noah Sullivan, investigating Jane Doe, 1989. The silence was heavy, broken only by my footsteps. I flipped through the file's attendance logs, disciplinary notes until I found. Heard Lydia Marsh, suspended. September 10, 1989. My client's sister. The page was waterlogged, ink bleeding, but a photo was clipped to it. A girl, 13, blonde, smirking. I pocketed it, and the chair creaked, writing itself, slow and deliberate. My flashlight flickered, and a voice cut through the recorder. "She's mine, Noah," deep clipped, like an old man's growl. I grabbed the recorder, still running. Battery full, but the room shifted. The desk shook, papers sliding, and the phone rang sharp, jarring, wires dangling uselessly. I answered, stupidly, and static roared. Then, "Leave her." The chair spun, facing me, and the air turned sour, like burnt coffee and sweat. Footsteps thudded behind the desk, heavy pacing, and my flashlight caught him, tall, in a suit, face shadowed, glasses glinting. "Who's there?" I demanded, voice steady from years of bluffing. He didn't answer, just pointed at me, then the photo in my hand. The files flew, pages slicing the air, cutting my knuckles. "She's mine," the voice boomed, now from the walls, the floor, everywhere. The door slammed shut, lock clicking, and the suit stepped closer, face clear now, gaunt, eyes sunken, mouth a thin, furious line. I rammed the door, shoulder aching, as the phone rang again, drowning my yells. The recorder screamed static, looping. "Noah, Noah." Cold hands grabbed my neck, dry, papery, yanking me back. I swung my flashlight, hit nothing, and the door gave. I stumbled out, the ringing fading, the grip gone. The photo was still in my pocket, but Lydia's face was scratched out, dotted home. The recorder played my voice, then his, then a girl's scream. Lydia's, I'd bet. Last night, my office phone rang deadline, but I heard breathing. The computer lab's coder name is Riley Kim, and I'm a coder. I build apps, debug systems, text my life. On August 28, 2025, I went to Carver Middle School with my friend Sam. He's a YouTuber, wanted to film a haunted tech video. In the old computer lab, think flickering screens, spooky vibes. I brought my laptop, a power bank, and a USB drive to mess with the old machines. It was a dumb idea, but I figured it'd be fun. It wasn't. The school was a wreck, walls peeling, air damp and stale. The computer lab was on the second floor, its door hanging loose, wires spilling out. Inside it was a graveyard of tech. Boxy monitors, dusty keyboards, cables tangled like vines. Some PCs were still plugged in, though the power had been off since the 90s. Sam set up his camera, grinning. "Let's boot these fossils." I plugged my power bank into one, hit the switch, nothing but a hum. Then it sparked green. The screen flared, DOS text scrolling. "Welcome, Riley." My name, in blocky white letters. Sam laughed. "You hacked that." But I hadn't touched it. I yanked the cord, but the screen stayed on. Text shifting, run program. I typed N, joking, and the room buzzed, every monitor waking, all showing my name, over and over. The air turned electric, hairs on my neck standing up. Sam's camera glitched, lens fogging, and a voice crackled through the speaker's mechanical flat. "Stay, Riley." The keyboards clacked, keys moving on their own, typing nonsense. My full name, birth date, stuff I'd never shared. I grabbed my laptop, but it powered up too, screen mirroring the others. The lights flickered, dead bulbs glowing, and the hum became a whine, piercing my skull. A shadow flickered. On the screens, not mine, not Sam's, small, hunched, fingers tapping air. "Code me," the voice said, louder, and the monitors flashed red. Code streaming, gibberish, but alive, rewriting itself. Sam yelled, "Out," but the door slammed, cables snaking across the floor, tripping us. The shadow grew, stretching across every screen, eyes white, staring. I smashed a monitor glass, shattering. Sparks flying and the wine spiked. A scream now. Riley. The cables lashed out, wrapping my ankle, cold and tight. Sam pulled me free, and we rammed the door, tumbling into the hall as the screens blew popping one by one. Outside, my laptop was fried, USB melted. The footage showed us, then static, then me on screen, typing, smiling, alone. The rooftop signamy name is Ava Torres, and I'm a radio hobbyist. I mess with old frequencies, hunt for dead signals, ghosts in the airwaves. On September 15th, 2025, I went to Carver Middle School to test a theory. Kids in town said you could hear voices on the roof, leftovers from the flood. I brought my portable radio, antenna, and headphones. Figured I'd catch static, maybe a prank. I didn't expect the signal to find me. The school was a skeleton, bricks crumbling, roof sagging under years of rain. I climbed a rusted fire escape, the metal groaning, and reached the top. It was flat, littered with day-broken chairs, a soccer ball, tar peeling like skin. The air was thick, humid, and I set up my gear near the edge, antenna pointed skyward. I tuned in, static hissing, through my headphones, and waited. At 10 p.m. it hit a whine, sharp and high. Cutting through the noise, I adjusted the dial and voices faded in, kids laughing, shouting, overlapping. "Up here, up here." I grinned, recording its whole broadcasts, trapped in the ether. But then it shifted. "Ava, up here." My name, clear, no distortion. I yanked off the headphones, heart pounding, but the voices kept going, leaking from the radio. "Ava, look." The antenna bent slowly, impossibly pointing at me. The air crackled. Static sparking blew around the gear, and my flashlight died. I grabbed my phone, battery drained, and the roof shook, a low rumble like footsteps below. "Look," voices said again, louder, a dozen now, pleading. I turned, and the soccer ball rolled straight at me, stopping dead. A shadow stretched across the tar, small, jagged, no sourced. The radio screeched, "Ava, CUS." The wind picked up, but it wasn't wind, cold, wet, pushing me back. Shadows multiplied, circling, kids in outline, arms waving. My antenna snapped, whipping through the air, and the voices screamed, "Stay." I ran for the fire escape, but it buckled, rungs bending, metal shrieking hand. Hands grabbed my legs, icy pulling. I kicked free, slid down, half broken, and hit the ground running. The signal fading behind me. At home, my recording was garbled static. Then my name, then sobs. My antenna's gone. But last night, my radio turned on unplugged, whispering, "Ava, come back." The detention room's clock. Me name is Ethan Cole, and I'm a college dropout. I bounce between odd jobs, delivery, landscaping, whatever pays. On September 30th, 2025, my cousin Jake dragged me to Carver Middle School. He's a thrill seeker, said the detention room was cursed. That time stopped there. I didn't care about ghost stories, but he bet me $50 I wouldn't last an hour inside. I brought a watch, a flashlight, and a protein bar. I should have walked away. The school was a rotting heap wall, slimy, air thick with damp. The detention room was on the first floor, its door scratched with names and dates, some from the 80s, some fresh. Inside, it was small. Desks in rows, a chalkboard, and a clock on the wall. Hands stuck at 3:15. I sat, started my watch 7 p.m. and cracked a joke. Time's already dead here. The clock ticked, loud and sudden, moving to 3:16. I laughed. Mechanism maybe, but my watch stopped. Dead battery, though I'd swapped it that morning. The flashlight flickered, and the tick grew heavier, echoing like a heartbeat. I stood uneasy, and the desks shifted, scraping an inch. All at once, "Jake," I called, thinking he'd snuck in. No answer, just ticking faster now, and a whisper, "Late, Ethan." A kid's voice, sharp from the clock. The room dimmed, shadows pooling under the desks, and the chalkboard squeaked. "Ethan, stay," letters forming slow, deliberate. My protein bar slid off the desk, unwrapping itself, rolling into the dark. The clock spun, hands blurring, settling at 3:15. Again, the air turned heavy, pressing my chest. "Late," the voice said, closer behind me. I swung my flashlight, caught a boy, pale, in a school tie, eyes black, standing by the board. He pointed at the clock, and it rang a shrill, endless bell, shaking the walls. The desks slammed together, pinning me, and shadows rose, gray and silent, sitting, staring. "Stay," they chanted, voices piling up, drowning the bell. I fought free, ran for the door. It wouldn't budge. Handle the boy's hand grabbed mine, wet, bony, yanking me backhand. The clock hit 3:16. I kicked the door, wood cracking, and stumbled out, the bell fading. Jake was going, left me cowered, and my watch restarted. 7:01. At home it keeps stopping. At 3:15 last night, I heard ticking in my room. The shadows moved. The storage closet's dolls. Me name is Maya Ortiz, and I'm a thrift store picker. I hunt old junk furniture, clothes, whatever sells. On October 15th, 2025, I went to Carver Middle School after a tip from a guy at the flea market. He said the storage closet was packed with stuff from the 80s, textbooks, toys, gold mines for resale. I brought a flashlight, a duffel bag, and my phone to snap pics. I thought I'd hit the jackpot. I hit something else. The school was a moldy Rexelling's drooping air, wet and sour. The storage closet was off the main hall, its door warped, lock busted. I pried it open, and the smell hit me: dust, mildew, and something sweet, like rotting candy. Inside it was crammed. Boxes of papers, cracked globes, and dolls, dozens of them, plastic and porcelain, stacked on shelves, staring out with chipped eyes. I grinned, snapping photos. Vintage score, I muttered. I reached for one, a rag doll with yarn heron, its head turned, slow, creaky, facing me. I dropped it, laughing, loose neck, but the others moved too, heads tilting, eyes clicking in their sockets. My flashlight flickered, and a giggle echoed high, soft, from the shelves. "Hello," I called, voice shaky. The giggle spread. 20 voices, overlapping play. Maya. My name. I hadn't said it aloud. The dolls shifted arms, jerking up, legs swinging like marionettes with cut strings. A porcelain one fell, shattering, and its pieces crawled, fingers scraping, head rolling toward me. The air turned cold, sweet stench choking me, and my phone buzzed, screen black. Then a photo. Me, in the closet, dolls behind me, smiling. I hadn't taken it. The shelves rattled, dolls tumbling, piling at my feet, grabbing my ankle. Hard hands, impossibly strong. Play, they sang louder, and the door slammed shut, lock clicking. I kicked free, dolls snapping at my heels. Teeth. Some had teeth, and rammed the door. It gave, spilling me into the hall, giggles chasing me as I ran, duffel abandoned. Outside, my phone had one new pic, a doll, my face painted on it. The projector room's filmy name is Liam Hayes, and I'm a film student. I love old movies, grainy reels, forgotten classics. On October 28, 2025, I went to Carver Middle School to check out the projector room. A professor mentioned it had an old 16mm setup, untouched since the flood, perfect for a short doc I was making. I brought my camera, a flashlight, and a spare battery. I wanted footage. I got a screening I can't unsee. The school was a decaying mess, walls warped, air thick with damp rot. The projector room was up a narrow stairwell, its door swollen shut. I forced it open, wood splintering, and stepped into a cramped space. Dusty shelves, film cans, rusted shut, and a projector, big clunky lens cracked facing a bare wall. I set my camera on a tripod, hit record. Liam Hayes, October 28th, exploring Carver's lost cinema. The quiet HUMMED. I found a can labeled Science Class 89, popped it, trill intact, brittle but whole. I threaded it into the projector, figuring it'd be a dull lesson reel. I flipped the switch, nothing, then a spark, and it whirred to life, light flickering. The wall lit up, kids in lab coats, mixing chemicals, laughing normal stuff. I grinned, filming it, until the audio kicked in. A hum, low and wrong, not matching their lips. The kids froze mid-frame, head snapping toward the camera, eyes white, mouths slack. Liam, a voice buzzed through the static. My name, not on the reel. The projector sped up, frames blurring, and the kids moved, climbing out of the screen. Hands pressing the wall, stretching it like rubber. My flashlight died, and the hum turned into whispers. Watch us, Liam. The room shook, cans rattling, spilling reels that unrolled, snaking across the floor. A hand broke through gray, wet, clawing the air, and the projector beam swung, blinding me. Watch. The voices screamed, a dozen now, shrill and desperate. Shadows poured out, kids dripping, crowding me, their faces flickering like bad film. I grabbed my camera, tripod crashing, and ran for the door. It wouldn't budge, handle hot, burning my palm. The reel looped. Leo, in their hands grabbing my legs, pulling. I kicked free, smashed the projector glass, shattering, film snapping, and the door gave. I stumbled down the stairs, whispers fading, the beam dying behind me. At home, my footage showed the reel, then me surrounded, smiling, eyes white. Last night, my TV flickered, a grainy hand pressed the screen. The trophy case's champions. Me name is Jordan Blake, and I'm a sports coach. I train kids soccer, track, push them to win. On November 10th, 2025, I went to Carver Middle School after a tip from an old player. He said the trophy case in the hall was still full, relics from before the flood, perfect for a nostalgia piece I was writing. I brought my phone, a flashlight, and a notepad. I wanted history. I got a team I didn't sign up for. The school was a soggy ruin, walls buckling, air heavy with mold. The trophy case was near the gym, Glass cracked but intact, stuffed with tarnished cups, plaques, medals glinting dully. I snapped pics. Track champs 87, soccer stars 89 smirking at the faded glory. The flashlight caught a photo, a team, kids in jerseys, grinning. Dated the year the school closed. I scribbled notes, then heard it, a cheer faint, like a crowd far off. I turned empty hall, just dust swirling. The cheer grew, sharp and rhythmic. Go, go, go. I laughed, echoes, but my phone buzzed, screen flickering, and the case rattled, trophies shifting. Clinkin. Jordan, a voice chanted layered kids' voices from the glass. My name, over and over. I stepped back, and the photo changed. Those kids weren't smiling anymore. Faces pale, eyes locked on me. The air turned cold, sweat freezing on my neck, and the case shook harder, metal swinging, plaques falling. Play. Jordan, the voices said, louder, and the hall light sparked dead for decades, casting jagged shadows. Footsteps echoed fast like a team sprinting, and my flashlight caught them. Kids, gray and blurry, in those jerseys, running toward me from both ends of the hall. I bolted for the exit, but the case glass shattered, trophies flying, cutting my arms, and the kids closed in, chanting, win, win. Jordan. Cold hands grabbed my legs, tripping me, and a soccer ball rolled out of nowhere, stopping at my feet. I kicked it away, scrambled up, and ran, their cheers deafening, shadows stretching long. The door was closed, I slammed through, glass slicing my hand, and the noise cut off. At home, my cuts wouldn't stop bleeding, and the photo downloaded itself. Me, in that hall, surrounded by them, holding a trophy. Last night I heard cheering outside. My cleats are muddy. The lost and found box. Me name is Casey Morgan, and I'm a scavenger. I dig through abandoned places, warehouses, houses looking for stuff to sell or keep. On November 25, 2025, I hit Carver Middle School after hearing the lost and found box in the office was untouched since the 80s. Jackets, hats, maybe some vintage gear. I figured it'd be easy pickings. I brought a flashlight, a backpack, and my phone. I didn't expect to lose something myself. The school was a moldy wreck, ceilings sagging, air wet and bitter. The office was near the entrance, its counter splintered, papers scattered. The lost and found box sat in the corner, metal bin, dented, lid ajar. I popped it open. Gloves, a scarf, a Walkman with cracked headphones, all damp but intact. I grinned, snapping pics, retro haul, and started digging. Then I found it, a keychain, my initials CM, scratched into a brass tag. I hadn't lost it there, I'd never been. My hands shook, but I pocketed it, rationalizing coincidence. The flashlight dimmed and a rustle came from the box, like fabric shifting. I looked empty now, my find's gone. Casey, a voice whispered, small and close, from inside. I dropped the lid, stepping back, and the rustle turned into thump, something climbing out. The air turned icy, my breath fogging, and the box tipped, spilling nothing but shadows. Take it back, the voice said, louder, a kid's whine, and my backpack unzipped, stuff flying, phone, flashlight, yanked into the box. I grabbed for them, but hands great tiny shot out, snatching my sleeve. Yours, they hissed, pulling, and the keychain burned in my pocket, searing my leg. I yanked free, fabric tearing, and ran, the thumps following, box scraping the floor behind me. Shadows swarmed, kids blurry, clutching lost things, glove, a hat, my phone, reaching for me. Casey, stay, they screamed, voices piling up. I hit the door, stumbled out, and the noise stopped. My backpack was empty, keychain gone, but my legs scarred red, raw initials. Last night I heard rustling in my closet. My old jacket's missing. The blackboard jungle. Me name is Sam Carter, and I'm a graffiti artist. I tag old places, factories, train yards, anywhere with a blank wall. On December 5, 2025, I went to Carver Middle School to hit the classrooms. The blackboards were still up, perfect canvases for my work. I brought my spray cans, a flashlight, and a mask for the dust. I wanted to leave my mark. Something else marked me instead. The school was a soggy ruin, floors buckled, air thick with mold. I picked a classroom on the second floor, its door hanging loose, blackboard cracked but wide. I shook a can, red paint testing it on the wall. Sam was here. The hiss echoed, too loud, and the board squeaked, chalk moving, writing back. Sam, stay. My tag, my name, but not my hand. I laughed, nice trick, thinking wind or rats, but the air was dead. I sprayed again, a skull this time, and the board answered, lines forming, mirroring me. A skull with my face, eyes, hollowed. The flashlight flickered, and a scrape came, nails on slate, slow and sharp. Stay, a voice rasped, low, from the board. I swung my light, nothing but the paint dripped red, turning black, pooling on the floor. The room chilled, my mask fogging, and the board shook, words piling up. Sam, Sam, Sam. Desks rattled, sliding toward me, and the chalk flew, sticks snapping, drawing jagged lines, cutting the air. Stay, the voice yelled. A dozen now, kids' voices, angry, shadows, stretched hands clawing from the board, gray and wet, grabbing My cans. I sprayed at them, paint hissing, splattering, and they recoiled. But the board bled. Black ink seeping, forming my face again. Screaming I ran, cans clattering, the scrape chasing me, desks tipping, blocking the door. Hands grabbed my legs, cold, slick, and I kicked free, paint staining my jeans. The door gave, and I bolted, the voices fading. Sam, stay outside. My cans were empty, mask cracked. My phone had a pic I didn't take. Me, on the board, eyes black, smiling last night. I heard scraping on my wall, my red cans full again. The fire drill alarm. My name is Tara Brooks, and I'm a firefighter. I've run into burning buildings, pulled people from wreck spheres, not my thing. On December 20th, 2025, I went to Carver Middle School for a training exercise. My crew was testing old alarms, seeing what still worked before the place got torn down. I brought my gear, a flashlight, and a radio. I thought it'd be routine. The alarm had other plans. The school was a frozen shell, walls iced over, air sharp with damp rot. The fire alarm was in the main hall, a rusted box bolted high, wires dangling. I climbed a ladder, flashlight tucked under my arm, and tapped it dead like everything else. Nothing here, I radioed, but static answered. Then a click. Alarm shrieked, loud and sudden, a wail that shook the walls. My crew laughed over the comms. Good one, Tara. I hadn't touched it. The sound cut off, then started again, short bursts. A fire drill pattern, but warped, slowing like a dying battery. My flashlight dimmed, and the air turned warm to warm, like a furnace kicking on. Tara, a voice, buzzed through the alarm, faint, a girl's whisper. I froze, ladder creaking, and the shriek flared full blast, rattling my skull. Run, the voice said, clearer, layered with others. Run, Tara. The hall light sparked at bulbs glowing red, and smoke curled up thin and gray, from nowhere. I climbed down, fast, but the ladder buckled, rungs bending, and hit the floor, radio cracking. The alarm pulsed, a heartbeat now, and footsteps, raced, dozens, kids running, shadows flickering past me. My flashlight caught them, gray, blurry, in school uniforms, faces burned, eyes wide. Run, they screamed, the alarm sinking with their yells, and the heat-spiked walls blistering, paint peeling. I bolted, smoke thickening, choking me, their hands brushing my back, hot, peeling skin. The exit loomed. I dove through, the alarm cutting off, silence slamming in. Outside, my crew stared. What smoke? My gear was singed, radio melted, and my arm had a burn small shaped like a hand. The recording from my radio. Static, then Tara, run, over and over. Last night I heard an alarm in my sleep. My smoke detectors unplugged. The coachroom's hangus. Me name is Ellie Foster, and I'm a seamstress. I make clothes, mend old ones, love the feel of fabric. On January 5th, 2026, I went to Carver Middle School after a friend tipped me off. The coachroom still had jackets from the 80s, wool denim, may be worth restoring. I brought my sewing kit, a flashlight, and my phone for pics. I thought I'd find treasures. I found threads I can't unpick. The school was a frigid, wreck walls iced, air biting with damp. The coachroom was off the main hall, a narrow space, its door swollen shut. I pried it open, and the smell hit: mothballs, mildew, and something sour. Metal hangers clinked, swaying on racks, holding coats, parkas, a Letterman jacket, all damp, some torn. I snapped a photo, grinning vintage haul, and reached for a blue wool coat. It moved, not wind-still air, but the sleeve jerked, brushing my hand, cold and wet. I yanked back, and the hangers rattled, all of them a jangling wave. Ellie, a voice whispered small from the rack, and the coats shifted, turning, facing me, empty hoods drooping. My flashlight flickered, and the clinking grew, hangers swinging, banging metal on metal. Where me, the voice said, sharper, a kid's plea. I stepped back, heart racing, and a coat fell sliding off, crawling toward me, sleeves dragging. The others followed, parkas, jackets, inching along, hangers screeching like nails on glass. Ellie, where me, the voices cried, a chorus now, echoing off the walls. Shadows, rose kids, faint, in those coats, arms outstretched, faces blurred but eyes glinting, wet and dark. Dot. My phone buzzed, screen black. Then a pick me, in the blue coat, smiling, not my shot. The racks tipped, coats piling, grabbing my legs, fabric cold, clinging like hands. I kicked free, needle dropping from my kit, and ran, the clinking chasing me, coats slithering behind. The door slammed shut. I rammed it, stumbled out, the noise dying. My kit was gone, but a thread stuck to my shoe, blue moving. Last night I heard hangers in my closet. A coat I don't own hangs there now. The supply room's paper. Me name is Owen Reed, and I'm a writer. I chase inspiration, old places, forgotten stories. On January 20th, 2026, I went to Carver Middle School to poke around the supply room. A friend said it was full of paper notebooks, worksheets perfect for a creepy tale I was drafting. I brought my pen, a notebook, and a flashlight. I wanted words. I got a script I didn't write. The school was a frozen husk, walls cracked, air sharp with damp rot. The supply room was on the ground floor, its door ajar, hinges rusted. Inside it was chaos, shelves sagging with reams of paper, boxes spilling yellowed sheets, pencils rolling underfoot. I grabbed a stack math quizzes, 89 dates, and started scribbling notes. Abandoned lessons. The flashlight dimmed, and a rustle came paper shifting like a breeze I didn't feel. I wrote more echoes of the flood, and the rustle grew, pages flipping on their own. A sheet slid off a shelf, landing at my feet. Owen, finish it. My name, in red, ink, fresh and wet. I dropped my pen, laughing, good one. But the shelves shook, paper cascading, burying my boots. Finish it, a voice whispered, soft, from the pile, and my notebook flipped, words appearing. Owen, stay. The air turned cold, ink stinging my nose, and the pages rose swirling, cutting the air, slicing my hands. Stay, the voice said louder. Kids' voices now, overlapping. Shadows flickered, small, hunched, clutching papers, eyes red like the ink. My pen lifted, writing midair, Owen, finish, and the paper storm tightened, wrapping my legs, pulling me down. I fought free, pages tearing, and ran the rustle chasing me, sheets sticking to my back. Stay, stay. The door slammed. I kicked it open, stumbled out, the noise fading. My notebook was blank, but my hands bled, ink stained. Later, a page slipped from my bag. Owen, come back, red and dripping. Last night I heard paper rustling in my room. My pen's gone. The stage is curtain call. My name is Grace Kim, and I'm an actress. I do community theater, small roles, big dreams. On February 5, 2026, I went to Carver Middle School to scout the auditorium. A director friend wanted a creepy venue for a play, and the old stage sounded perfect. I brought my script, a flashlight, and my phone to take notes. I thought I'd find inspiration. I found an audience I didn't audition for. The school was a crumbling shell, walls iced, air bitter with damp. The auditorium was huge, rows of broken seats, a stage with tattered curtains, dust thick enough to choke. I climbed up, boards creaking, and stood center stage, reading lines, to be or not to be. My voice echoed, bouncing back to loud, too long. The flashlight flickered, and the curtains rustled slow, heavy, like someone pulling them. I laughed, drafty, and kept going. But the rustle turned into applause, soft claps, uneven. From the seats I swung, my light empty, just shadows shifting. Grace, a voice whispered, faint, from the curtains, and they parted inch by inch, revealing nothing but dark. My phone buzzed, screen glitching, and the clapping grew. Hands unseen, filling the room. Grace, encore. The stage shook, boards groaning, and the spotlight, dead for decades, flared, blinding me, hot on my skin. Stay, the voices said, a dozen now, kids, cheers, sharp and eager. Shadows rose mall, in rows, clapping, faces blank but eyes glinting, fixed on me. My script flew from my hands, pages scattering, and the curtains slammed shut, then opened fast like a trap. A figure stood there, tall in a teacher's vest, arms stiff, head tilted wrong. Perform, it rasped, and the applause roared. Seats rattling. I ran, tripping on a loose plank, and the spotlight followed, burning, pinning me. Hands grabbed my ankles, cold papery from the floorboards, pulling. I kicked free, leaped off the stage, and bolted, the cheers chasing. Grace, encore. The door gave and I stumbled out, silence crashing in. My script was gone. Phone dead, but a photo downloaded me on stage, bowing, shadows clapping. Last night, I heard applause. In my apartment, my curtains moved. The chemistry closet's fumes. Me name is Nate Patel, and I'm a science tutor. I help kids with homework, equations, experiments, the basics. On February 20th, 2026, I went to Carver Middle School after a dare from a student. He said the chemistry closet still had old supply speakers, chemicals perfect for a haunted lab video he wanted to make. I brought my kit, a flashlight, and my phone. I thought I'd debunk the ghost talk. I breathed in something else. That school was a frosty ruin, walls peeling, air sharp with rot. The chemistry closet was off the lab, its door rusted half. I stepped in, and the smell hit acid, stale and biting, like a spill never cleaned. Shelves sagged with jars, cloudy liquids, faded labels, test tubes cracked, a burner tipped over. I set my phone to record Nate Patel checking the myths. The flashlight caught dust swirling, thicker than it should have been. I grabbed a jar, sodium something, illegible, and it bubbled, slow and wrong, though it was sealed. Cool, I muttered, filming, but the air shifted, warm, heavy fumes, stinging my eyes. A hiss came, soft like gas leaking, and my flashlight dimmed. Nate, a voice wheezed thin from the shelves, and the jars rattled, lids popping, liquids fizzing, spilling over. My phone glitched, screen warping. Stay. The fumes thickened green, choking, and I coughed, lungs burning. Mix. The voice said, louder, a kid's rasp, and the burner flared blue flame. No fuel. Shadows moved small, in lab coats, hands gloved, reaching through the haze. My kit flew open, tongs, goggles, snatched by unseen fingers, and a jar, tipped, splashing my arm, searing like acid. Nate, mix it, they chanted, voices bubbling like the spills. I ran, slipping on wet tiles, the hiss chasing me, curling, shadows, crowding. The door jammed, I kicked it, stumbled out, the flame dying behind me. My arm blistered, skin red and raw, and my phone caught it. Me surrounded, shadows pouring liquid into beakers, smiling. Last night, I smelled chemicals in my kitchen. My sinks stained green. The bulletin boards notices me name is Lauren Hayes, and I'm a graphic designer. I love old typography, posters, signs, anything with character. On March 5, 2026, I went to Carver Middle School to check out the bulletin board in the main hall. A friend said it still had flyers from the 80s club ads, event notices perfect for inspiration. I brought my sketchbook, a flashlight, and my phone. I wanted art, I got pinned instead. The school was a crumbling mess, walls damp, air heavy with rot. The bulletin board was huge, cork peeling, covered in faded paper, zealoed curling, pinned tight. I snapped pics, bake sale, 88, chess club, smiling at the retro fonts. My flashlight caught a flyer. Lauren, welcome back, handwritten, ink fresh. My name, no date. I laughed, weird coincidence, but my sketchbook felt heavy. Pages flipping, I pinned it down, sketching the flyer, and the board creaked, pins popping out, papers fluttering. Stay, a voice whispered soft, from the cork, and the flyers shifted, rearranging, spelling Lauren stay in torn scraps. My phone buzzed, screen flashing, and the air turned cold. Pins raining down, sticking my shoes. Stay, the voice said again. Kids' voices now, overlapping, pleading. The board shook, papers flying, wrapping my arms, cutting my shadows rose, kids, gray, pinning notices mid-air, eyes sharp, staring. My sketchbook flew open, pages filling. Lauren stay, red ink bleeding through. Welcome back, they chanted, and a pin stabbed my hands, more rusted, burning. I yanked free, ran the papers chasing, sticking to me. Stay, stay. The door loomed, I dove out, scraps falling, silence hitting hard. My hand bled, pin gone, and my phone had a new pic. Me, by the board, covered in flyers, smiling. Last night I heard rustling in my studio, a flyer's pinned to my wall. Lauren, stay, ink still wet. The darkrooms prints me name is Mia Chen, and I'm a photographer. I shoot film, old school darkroom stuff, because digital feels too clean. On March 20th, 2026, I went to Carver Middle School to check out the old photography darkroom. Classmates said it still had equipment trays, chemicals left from the 80s, perfect for an experimental project. I brought my camera, a flashlight, and some blank film. I wanted shots. I developed something else. The school was a soggy wreck, walls slimy, air thick with damp. The darkroom was off the art wing. Its door warped, red light bulb cracked. Above it I pushed in, and the smell hit vinegar mold, a hint of fixer. Shelves held bottles, yellowed trays, a sink clogged with black sludge. I set my camera down, loaded film, and snapped the room. Click, wind click. The flashlight buzzed, and a drip started slow from the sink. I ignored it, sketching a setup, but the drip turned into a hum, low like a motor waking. Mia, a voice murmured, faint, from the trays, and my film canister rolled off the shelf into the dark. I grabbed my flashlight beam, shaky, and saw it, a tray bubbling, liquid rising, though it had been dry. A photo floated up, me, in that room, staring at the sink, taken just then. I hadn't developed it. The hum grew, lights flickering red demand. The trays shook, spilling prints, me again and again, eyes wide, face pale. Stay, the voice said, sharper, kids' whispers now, layering. My camera clicked on its own shutter, snapping, film winding fast. Shadows moved small, in aprons, hands wet, holding photos, pressing them toward me. Stay, Mia, they chanted, and the sink gushed black water, flooding the floor. I grabbed my gear, but the door jammed, sticky, wet, and the print stuck to my legs, cold, clinging. My flashlight died, red light pulsing, and a hand gray dripping brushed my neck. I screamed, kicked the door, and stumbled out, the hum fading, water lapping behind me. My film was gone, camera jammed, but one print stayed. Me, surrounded, shadows smiling. Last night, I smelled fixer in my darkroom. A blank print developed my face, eyes black. The guidance counselor's files. Me name is Ryan Patel, and I'm a social worker. I help people, kids mostly, sort out their messes. On April 5th, 2026, I went to Carver Middle School for a personal project. My uncle was a counselor there before the flood. left behind files. I wanted to archive family history stuff. I brought a flashlight, a box for papers, and my phone. I thought I'd find closure. I opened something else. The school was a moldy shell walls, sagging air thick with damp rot. The guidance office was on the first floor, its door scratched. Lock busted. Inside it was a mess. Desk tipped, chair broken, filing cabinets rusted shut. I pried one open, folders spilled, yellowed, some marked confidential. I found my uncle's name, Dr. Anil Patel, on a memo, smiled and started packing. Then the drawer slammed shut hard on its own. I jumped, flashlight shaking, and a rustle came, papers shifting. Deep in the cabinet, Ryan, a voice whispered low from the files, and my phone buzzed, screen flickering. I laughed, wind. The air was still. The rustle grew, folders sliding out, opening. Ryan Patel, Session 1. My name, my photo isn't. Me at my desk, clipped to a page I'd never written. Stay, the voice said, clearer, an old man's tone. The room chilled, my breath fogging, and the files flew, pages swirling, sticking to the walls. Ryan, stay. Shadows, rose kids, gray in school sweaters, holding folders, eyes sunken, staring. My uncle's memo lifted, ink bleeding. Help them, Ryan. The chair spun upright now and the desk shook, drawers banging. Stay, they chanted, voices piling up, and a hand-dry paper grabbed my wrist from the cabinet. I yanked free. Papers cutting my skin, and ran the files chasing, slapping my back. Stay, stay. The door jammed. I rammed it, stumbled out, the rustle fading. My box was empty, phone dead, but a file slipped into my bag. Ryan, Session 2. My face scratched out. Last night I heard drawers in my office, my uncle's memos on my desk, ink wet. The bike racks chains. Me name is Jake Miller, and I'm a bike mechanic. I fix frames, tune gears, keep wheels rolling. On April 20th, 2026, I went to Carver Middle School after hearing the bike rack out front still had old bikes rusted, chained up since the 80s. A buddy bet me I couldn't salvage one. I brought my tools, a flashlight, and my phone for proof. I wanted a project. I got locked in instead. The school was a soggy ruin, bricks crumbling, air wet and sharp. The bike rack was by the entrance, bent metal half buried in weeds. 3 bikes tangled in chains, tires flat, frames corroded. I snapped a pick, scrap heaven, and started cutting a chain, bolt cutters grinding. The metal groaned, louder than it should have, and the other chains rattled, swaying like something tugged them. I laughed, wind, and kept working, but the rattling grew sharp, rhythmic, a clinking wave. Jake, a voice whispered, small, from the rack, and my flashlight flickered. The chain I'd cut snapped back, coiling tight, locking again. Ride, the voice said, clearer, kids' voices now, overlapping. My phone buzzed, screen glitching, and the bikes shifted, wheels spinning, slow, no hands. The air turned, cold, rust stinging my nose, and the chains lashed, whipping out, grazing my arms, cold and hard. Ride, Jake, they chanted, and shadows rose, kids gray, in helmets, pedaling air, eyes glinting, fixed on me. My tools flew, wrench cutters, snatched by the chains, and a bike lunged, rolling at me, dragging its lock. I dodged, but the chains wrapped my legs tight, cutting, pulling me down. I fought free, metal snapping, and ran the clinking, chasing me, bikes rolling behind. Ride, the door loomed. I dove out, chains snagging my shoe, the noise dying. My tools were gone, phone scratched, but a pick loaded. Me, on a bike, chains around my wrists, smiling. Last night I heard clinking in my garage, my bike's chained to the wall. I didn't do it. The flagpole's shadow. Me name is Claire Evans, and I'm a park ranger. I patrol trails, watch the weather, keep things safe. On May 5th, 2026, I went to Carver Middle School for a personal check. The flagpole out front still stood, bent but tall, and locals said it creaked at night, like someone climbing. I brought my binoculars, a flashlight, and my phone. Curiosity, not duty. I wanted answers. I got a salute I didn't earn. The school was a damp wreck wall, sagging air heavy with rot. The flagpole loomed in the yard, rusted, rope frayed. No flag. I scanned it with my binoculars, empty, just metal glinting in the dusk. My flashlight buzzed, and a creak came, low high, like weight shifting. Wind, I muttered, but the air was still. The rope twitched, jerking up, then down, and my phone vibrated. Screen dimming. Claire, a voice whispered, faint, from above, and the pole bent, light impossible, leaning toward me. I stepped back, and the creak sharpened, metal groaning, rope swinging free. Salute, the voice said, kids' voices now, layered, sharp. My flashlight caught at a shadow, long and thin, sliding down the pole, no body casting it. The ground chilled, grass frosting under my boots. The rope snapped, whipping out, coiling mid-rand. The shadow stretched, splitting. Kids, gray in uniforms, hands raised, eyes black. Salute, Claire, they chanted, and the pole shook, vibrating, ringing like a bell. My binoculars fell, lens cracking, and the rope lash grazing my neck, cold and rough. I ran, shadows marching behind me, footsteps crunching frost. Stay. Salute. The gate loomed. I vaulted it, the ringing fading, rope dangling still. My neck burned red. Ran. My phone had to pick me by the pole. Saluting. Shadows behind me. Last night I heard creaking outside. My flag's up high, didn't raise it. The clock towers hands me name is Ben Carter, and I'm a watchmaker. I repair timepieces, gears, springs, the old stuff. On May 20th, 2026, I went to Carver Middle School to see the clock tower. A collector friend said its mechanism was still intact, a rare piece from the 70s, worth studying. I brought my tools, a flashlight, and my phone for pics. I wanted to fix time. It wound me up instead. The school was a soggy ruin, walls crumbling, air thick with damp. The clock tower jutted from the roof, its face cracked. Hands stuck at 12 o'clock. I climbed a rickety ladder inside, steps groaning, and reached gears rusted, massive, frozen mid. I snapped a photo of Ben's next project, and tapped a cog with my wrench. It moved slow, grinding, and the tower hummed, a deep pulse shaking the walls. I grinned, still alive, but the hum turned sharp, a tick-tock too loud, too fast. Ben, a voice echoed low from the gears, and my flashlight flickered. The hands outside spun wild, blurring, then stopped. 12:01, my phone buzzed, screen glitching, and the gears shifted, spinning free. No touch. To stay, the voice said. Kids' voices now overlapping, ticking with the clock. The air turned cold, metal biting my hands, and the gears sped, chains rattling. Cogs flying loose, grazing my arms. Stay, Ben, they chanted, and shadows rose small in overalls, winding air, eyes glinting like brass. My tools lifted, screwdriver, pliers. Turning mid-ran, the clock struck 12 loud gongs, shaking my bones. I ran, ladder buckling, and a chain lash trapping my wrist, pulling me back. I cut free with my wrench, metal snapping, and slid down the ticking, chasing me, gears grinding. Stay, stay. The roof hatch gave. I stumbled out, the clock silent at 12 o'clock again. My wrist bled, scarred with gear marks, and my phone had to pick me inside, hands on the clock, smiling. Last night I heard ticking in my shop. My watch stopped 12:01. The lunchbox left behind me name is Sophie Lee, and I'm a food blogger. I review snacks, pack lunches, simple joys. On June 5th, 2026, I went to Carver Middle School after a follower's tip. They said a lunchbox sat in the cafeteria, unopened since the flood, a creepy relic from my Weird Eats series. I brought my camera, a flashlight, and a notepad. I wanted a story. I ate something bitter instead. The school was a moldy brick walls, sagging air, wet and sour. The cafeteria was a mess. Tables flipped, trays scattered, a lone lunchbox on a bench, metal, rusted, painted with faded daisies. I snapped a pic, mystery meal, and set my camera to record. Sophie Lee unboxing the past. The lid creaked open, stiff, stuck hand inside was a sandwich, gray and damp, apple, shriveled, a note, Sophie enjoy, my name, fresh ink, not faded. I dropped the box, laughing prank, but the air turned cold, food rotting in my nose. A chew came soft, wet, like someone eating, and my flashlight dimmed. Enjoy, a voice whispered, small, from the bench, and the sandwich moved, bites taken. Slow, invisible teeth. My camera buzzed, lens fogging, and the apple rolled, stopping at my feet, oozing black. The chill deepened, my breath fogging, and the lunchbox rattled, lid slamming, opening again, spilling crumbs. Eat, Sophie, the voice said. Kids. Voices now, giggling, sharp. Shadows rose small in aprons, holding spoons, faces gray, mouths chewing air. My notepad flew, pages tearing, writing Sophie eat, and the sandwich lunged, smearing my hand cold and slimy. I ran, wiping it off. The chew chasing me, trays clattering, voices chanting, eat, eat. The apple rolled after me, bouncing, and hands grabbed my legs, wet, sticky, pulling. I kicked free, hit the door, and stumbled out, the noise dying. Lunchbox still. My hand stank, skin rash red, and my footage showed meeting, smiling. Shadows feeding me. Last night, I heard chewing in my kitchen. My fridge had a daisy painted on it, fresh. The lost textbook. Me name is Alex Nguyen, and I'm a tutor. I teach math, history, help kids catch up. On June 20th, 2026, I went to Carver Middle School after a thrift store, find a textbook, algebra, I stamped with the school's name. Pages marked up. I wanted to see where it came from, maybe grab more from my collection. I brought my bag, a flashlight, and my phone. I thought I'd solve a mystery. I got assigned homework instead. The school was a damp ruin, walls peeling, air thick with rot. I hit the library first. Shelves sagging, books moldy, but they're math, science, history. I found algebra I on a table, same edition, open to a page. Alex, solve this. My name, red pen, fresh. I laughed, weird, and snapped a pic, but the flashlight buzzed, and a scratch came pen on paper. From the stacks I swung my light empty shelves, dust swirling in, the book flipped equations filling in, x plus 5 equals Alex. My phone dimmed, and the scratch grew louder, faster, pages turning. Solve it, a voice whispered soft from the table, and my bag unzipped, pens rolling out, writing midair, Alex stay. The air turned cold, ink sharp in my throat, and the shelves shook, books falling, opening, all marked, Alex. Shadows, rose kids, gray, in school ties, holding pencils, eyes glinting, staring, solve it, Alex, they chanted, and my textbook flew, pages tearing, wrapping my arms, equations bleeding red. A pen stabbed my hand, small, sharp. I dropped it, ran, the scratch chasing me, books slamming, stay. The door loomed, I dove out, pages sticking to me, the noise fading, my hand bled, pen gone, and my phone had to pick me. At the table, solving, shadows behind me. Last night, I heard scratching in my study. My desk has x equals Alex carved into it. The gym locker's sweet band, me name is Taylor Brooks, and I'm a gym rat. I lift, run, keep moving. On July 5th, 2026, I went to Carver Middle School with my buddy Chris. He dared me to grab something from the gym locker's, proof of a workout. In a haunted spot, I brought my gym bag, a flashlight, and my phone for pics. I wanted a trophy. I got tagged in instead. The school was a soggy wreck, walls buckling, air damp and stale. The gym locker room was in the basement, its door rusted, hinges creaking. Inside it was a mess. Lockers dented, benches splintered, a whiff of old sweat and mold. I popped one open, locker 13 empty, but for a sweatband, gray, stretched out. I grinned, snapped a pic, score, and slipped it on my wrist. It was cold, wet, tighter than it looked. Chris laughed. Gross. Dude, but the lockers rattled soft, then loud, a wave of bangs. Taylor, a voice whispered, low, from the locker, and my flashlight flickered. The sweatband tightened, cutting. My skin and my phone buzzed, screen glitching, play. The air turned heavy, sweat stinging my nose, and the lockers shook, popping, slamming, spilling gym clothes, all damp, moving, play. Taylor, the voice said. Kids' voices now, chanting, sharp. Shadows, rose athletes, gray, in shorts, eyes glinting, stretching air. My bag flew open, towel, shoes, snatched by unseen hands, and the sweatband burned, red welts rising. Run, Chris yelled, but the lockers closed and doors swinging, pinning us. I ripped the band off, threw it, locker 13 swallowed it. Banging shut. We ran, the chant chasing us, lockers banging. Play, play. Hands grabbed, my legs cold, sweaty, and I stumbled, kicked free. The stairs loomed, we bolted out, the noise dying. My wrist bled, welts raw, and my phone had a pic. Me, in the locker, sweatband on, shadows flexing behind me. Last night I heard banging in my gym, my wristbands back. The water fountains drip. Me name is Emma Riley, and I'm a plumber. I fix leaks, unclog drains, keep water where it belongs. On July 20th, 2026, I went to Carver Middle School after a bet with my crew. They said the old water fountain still ran, even with no pipes connected. A creepy challenge for my skills. I brought my wrench, a flashlight, and my phone to prove it. I wanted to shut it off. It drank me instead. The school was a moldy ruin, walls sagging, air thick with damp rot. The water fountain was in the hall, rusted steel, spout bent, a puddle, beneath it stagnant, black. I tapped it dry, silent hand grinned. Busted myth. My flashlight buzzed, and a drip came slow, heavy. From the spout, I checked underneath, no pipes, just a hole. But the drip kept going. Water, dark, smelling like rust and earth. Emma, a voice gurgled, faint, from the puddle, and my phone dimmed. The drip sped, plink, plink, plinkened. The puddle grew, spreading toward me. Drink, the voice said, clearer. Kids' voices now, bubbling up. My wrench slipped, splashing in, and the fountain hummed, vibrating, spraying cold, inky water. Shadows rose small, dripping, in school shoes, eyes glinting, reaching from the puddle. The air turned wet, my breath fogging, and the spray hit me, sting and soaking my arms. Drink, Emma, they chanted, and my flashlight caught it up, face in the water. Pale, bloated, staring up. My phone buzzed, screen black, then a pic. Me, drinking, eyes wide. The puddle surged, grabbing my boots, pulling, and I yanked free, rant. The drip chasing me, water sloshing. Stay, drink. The door loomed, I slipped out, the hum fading, puddle still. My arms were red, rash burned, and my footage showed, drenched shadows pouring water over me. Last night I heard dripping in my bathroom, my sink's black. The lost backpack. Me name is Lucas Tran, and I'm a hiker. I carry gear, maps, water, whatever fits in my pack. On August 5th, 2026, I went to Carver Middle School after a dare from my hiking group. They said a backpack sat in the hall, untouched. Since the flood, a relic to snag. Brought my own pack, a flashlight, and my phone for proof. I wanted to find. I got carried away instead. The school was a soggy wreck, walls buckling, air wet and sour. The hall was a mess, lockers dented, tiles cracked, and there it was, a backpack, blue, slumped by a window, straps frayed. I snapped a pic, treasure hunt, and knelt to check it. Inside, a notebook, pens, a moldy sandwich, all damp. I grinned, slinging it over my shoulder. It was heavy, heavier than it looked. Lucas's voice whispered, "Small," from the pack, and my flashlight flickered. The straps tightened in ginging cold, and my phone buzzed, screen glitching. Stay. The air turned damp, mold stinging my nose, and the pack shifted, pulling me back, like it wanted to stay. "Stay, Lucas," the voice said. Kids' voices now, whining, sharp. My own pack unzipped, gear spilling, snatched by unseen hands. Shadows rose small in hoodies, clutching straps, eyes glinting, tugging air. "Carry us," they chanted, and the lost pack's weight double, dragging me down, straps cutting my skin. My flashlight caught it to face in the fabric, stitched, staring. I dropped it, but it clung, straps wrapping my legs, pulling. I kicked free, ran the wine chasing me, packs sliding stick. Carry. The exit loomed. I dove out, straps snapping, the noise dying. My shoulders bled, red welts, and my phone had a pic. Me, with the pack, shadows on my back, smiling. Last night I heard rustling in my room. My pack's heavier, something's inside.